Richard Higgins, a former member of the National Security Council and author of the memo, has argued a narrative is developing within the mainstream media coverage of the Trump campaign's ongoing legal challenges to reported results in the election, and that this could pose a danger to national security. Joining us now, we have Richard with us for the show. Thank you for joining us, Richard. Good to see you. Again, this is a narrative that we've seen now for quite some time. So what can you tell us about this? And you say it's emerging around the legal actions currently being taken by the Trump campaign.
Yes, and I think it's important for people to understand that this isn't something that began with the election. This is something that we saw put in place by the left over a series of months, if you recall, going back to the Transition Integrity Project, where we saw them scripting out various scenarios and laying track, if you will, where they were going to be able to steer the narrative to their political as well as legal advantage should some sort of a crisis or contested election scenario emerge.
So, Richard, what is the relationship between this narrative and national security? In what ways could this emergence possibly make it harder to deal with foreign or even domestic threats?
Well, really, I want to key in on the domestic threat because I think, this election in particular has really turned into a domestic social crisis where no matter what happens with the election outcome now, we're going to have half of the population extremely upset. And what's concerning to me is that there appears to have been a concerted effort by members of the left, some of the senior leadership there, to generate this crisis and to steer us into this current position that we're in. And so I'm watching very closely to see the actions of some of the more militant groups that we saw displaced or just on display over the summer, attacking cities, burning down buildings, etc. Does this propensity to violence reemerge here over the next couple of weeks? It's a deep concern as somebody who studied what went on in the Arab Spring and particularly the color revolutions of Ukraine and other states along the border of Russia.
That's right. Some pretty concerning events that we did see develop during the summer. Now, how would you say this is different from previous elections? We know with Bush-Gore's election in 2000, that specifically does come to mind as another instance of courts taking a significant role in the electoral process. So how is this election different in terms of security concerns?
Well, I can tell you, Lily, if this election took place in a foreign country, Afghanistan, for example, our State Department would not certify it. There's just too much what appears to be not just fraud, not just corruption, but organized fraud and corruption. And that is really the issue I think that the American public is grappling with right now, is that, we expect some level of fraud. That just kind of comes with the territory in a democracy. We understand that. But we've never seen anything that is systemic, and so many elements of the media, international institutions appear to be participating in and covering for this fraud. That's something that's new. That's a national security issue.
So, Richard, before I let you go, what could be done to prevent this sort of issue in the future? What steps could be taken to pursue legal challenges in contested elections and in the future without opening the door to this sort of narrative?
Well, I think what we have to do is we have to look at the voter integrity issue. Right? We need to get our arms around that. The technology is there today. In the past, I think we've been reluctant to do it because we don't want to impose federal standards down on the states. That has to be done. And I think a second thing that we need to look at, going forward is perhaps even something sophisticated as sort of in terms of a real ID of biometric authentication, something like that. And then, just in large part, we need to have a way to go about resolving these issues. Thank God our founding fathers designed this amazing document called the Constitution that can resolve a situation like this. But we have to go back to teaching the American public schools, civics, enough about the Constitution so that they understand. We have a founding that anticipated a scenario like this. We just don't need the media spinning up the crisis like it has been for the past couple of weeks.
Well, thank you again for your input and for your time, Richard Higgins. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Lily.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.